Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Revisited. I can say another episode this time.
You can, yes.
And we just got upstairs from watching The Dark Knight. I've now let the audience know where the studio is. And
they're coming in through the back door.
They're coming in through the back door. We gotta move right now. But yes, also, guys, this is going to be a full spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, click away because we're going to be talking about it in full details. And needless to say, what a fucking movie, guys. What a movie.
What a movie indeed.
And like last time, it was Morgan's first time seeing it.
Yes.
So I got to go to you first. Let's dive right in.
All right, I'm
General
ready.
thoughts on the movie.
I loved it. All of your hype did not disappoint. It was pretty spot on, and I wish it ended, and I wish there was more. Like, the 2 hours did not feel like 2 hours. I could have watched it for another 3 hours. I want more Joker. I want more Batman. It was great. I loved it.
And before we kind of go into each other, you know, we love that you're like hardcore getting into movie watching with us. And of the movies you watch, because this is considered like a certified classic movie. It's old enough to be a classic. Let's think about that for a second. But
We're all old enough to be classics.
Oh God, yeah. But we're now seeing this. What about this movie? I'm gonna throw you another hard question. What about this movie do you think is lacking in movies you watch now?
That is a hard question. That's a great question, though.
Quality.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to some of the other DC movies that I've seen, which isn't that many, but I'm going to compare it to Shazam. I liked Shazam, but it just didn't have the feel that this movie had. This movie, you could feel it was just so much effort, love, care put into the movie. Like the Joker's performance, he won an Oscar. It was amazing. And like Shazam just had like, it was very fun, but it had a lot of, it felt a lot more loose, which
For clarification,
necessarily-
you're referring to the second Shazam.
yes, the one that just came out. Yeah. There's a lot more, I don't know. It was just like lighter.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel as serious as a movie.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, here's this comic book movie.
Here's unicorns eating Skittles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was just more silly overall. Versus this one was like, I think Hannah was talking about this last time, being a comic book movie, but also being a cinematic like film. And I felt like you really felt that in this.
I want to tack off what you're saying, because as you were saying, how is it different? I was thinking about it too, and what you were saying made me think. And you're saying like the care and the, like it felt purposeful, stuff like that. The one thing I love about this movie compared to other ones is I feel like the motivation of like the Joker and just like his, why he did things felt real. And yes, it's like chaos, so it's not necessarily he needed to do things, but from like a writing perspective, it was like, what would Joker do next? And this would happen, and then it would lead to this, and like a whole story. So it felt character focused. But I feel like if you want to say like Shazam, if we want to talk about that, or other DC movies, I feel like you put studio heads or people in a room and they're like, so what if then they go to and they fight a dragon? Like, that would be cool. How do we fit that in? And it feels like disconjointed, like cool things that are like buzz, whatever, and then like lull in the middle. But this movie was like an uphill climb the entire time, and it built off each other, and it felt like purposeful. And I think that ultimately, yes, the performance and everything like we're saying, but it ultimately goes back, I think, to Chris and Jonathan Nolan's writing and having a vision from the beginning, and that's what's lacking. It felt connected versus disconnected like current ones.
And I think unlike current movies, while I think it helps to watch Batman Begins, I think if you've never seen it, you can watch this movie.
For sure.
And it's like a perfect standalone story that can work for you. And it's like purposeful, I think. I like that word that you used, because a lot of movies, especially before Dark Knight and after the Dark Knight trilogy, a lot of DC movies, we had made jokes earlier about like all the different Batman costumes, and a lot of that was make sure he gets a new costume because we need to sell toys for this movie. And like we need to make sure that, if we have more costumes, more toys people can buy. And, and this movie just felt like, no, he's getting a new costume because we want to make the fight scenes a little better. And with the old one, can't really have those great fight scenes that we used to. So with this new suit, we can fight better.
Well, they also kind of build it into the story in a way, not like subtly to build up the stake. You know, he wants to turn his head, so they need to do like all this loose padding. And then you have Alfred making the remark saying like, well, you know, you might be more susceptible to a gunshot or like a stabbing. And that's pretty much just all Joker uses is knives. So it gives more stakes to that where it's like, okay, well, yeah, Batman can be stabbed in this.
Yeah. And I think also something that really helps like make the stakes of the movie feel real. And I think stakes are done very well in this movie. And part of that is because Michael Caine, Alfred's speech to Batman about how some men just want to watch the world burn and there's not a motivation for this guy. He's not going to stop. He just wants to see people suffer. And that made it feel scary and real of like, oh man, like there's no way to stop him really, like the whole movie. And I know a lot of common criticism of the film is the third act of the movie with the two boats and how a lot of people think that it kind of, that's a very common criticism of the movie.
I love that part.
Me too.
It's great, one, but two, also there's like 8 different third acts in this movie that begin in Act 1.
Yeah.
That it's just like, was none of that satisfying to you? Like, the movie just goes. Like, as soon as Joker gets brought into prison, it's just like, and we're out. And then there's the hospital. And then it just keeps going and going and going.
It keeps going and going, but it doesn't feel rushed, and all the arcs feel completed. It's incredible.
Well, I mean, the fact that they kill Rachel off, like... kind of halfway through the movie, you know, that's something that you save for the end of a movie or something nowadays.
Yeah. And it's also something that a lot of franchises wouldn't do now of like, we're going to recast the new love interest and we're going to kill them. Like, and it was for the story, like for Harvey and for Bruce's characters is like the wrench in this story is the death of this character and where it can go and how it affects them. And then you have beautiful touching moments too, like Alfred burning the letter or when he takes it off the tray and he's like, it can wait. And like it's such a touching thing. And in a movie that constantly moves, moments like that really keep it in line. And the scope of this movie, the scale of it is insane too. And going back to what I was saying about the third act, I love the third act of the movie with the boats because that is not the craziest thing the Joker does in the movie, is putting people on boats and having them threaten to blow up the other boat. We just saw the Joker blow up a hospital. That felt like more higher stakes. In most movies, the third act is the biggest stake. Like every superhero movie even is like, oh, but make sure at the end that's where like the real big world-ending threat comes in. And as an audience member, you lose this suspension of disbelief because you're like, well, they're not going to end the world. Like they're going to win. But we've just seen Joker blow up a hospital. He's killed Rachel. He's done all kinds of chaos in this movie. You know what you can believe? He'll blow up those boats. And you don't doubt it for a second. Yeah. And that's why the ending to me is it works so well.
Well, it ties in also, you know, the work that Batman has been putting in to give Gotham hope and to show that in the people doing it. But also just, you know, the whole, are humans innately good, innately bad, and just proving that innately good. Going against everything the Joker believes in and thinks just discombobulates him so much.
And it's the only time in the movie where the Joker looks defeated and he wasn't at one step ahead. Because like, he was banking on that happening. Yeah. And it's such a great moment. And speaking of like one step ahead, like from the opening bank heist to where the plan is have each person, when they finish their job, kill that person so there's less, so we don't have to share the money as much. And then he's secretly in the heist, so he's just going to wait until it's just him so he can take the money, which gives him the leverage to go to that mom meeting. Like, everything is connected, like, throughout the story, and he's always a step ahead.
Just I kill the bus
driver. Yeah.
I love that line.
Yeah. And, like, even down to him switching the addresses on Batman when he has to go save Harvey Dent or Rachel. Like on a psychological level, like he was so in their heads and like how he was going to beat them. And like seeing this in theaters, by the way, was such a wonderful experience. And you could hear, like, people cheered and stuff, but you could hear a pin drop when he called that cell phone in the prison and it blew up in the guy's stomach and then he escapes. Like that was just like, oh my God, amazing.
I want to know your reaction to not really being all too familiar with like the Batman lore as a whole. Just, were you expecting this? All right, they introduced this new DA. right? All this wonderful stuff's happening. He's doing so good in Gotham. He's Gotham's White Knight. Were you expecting at any point, right? You get the Joker, so you know there's already the zaniness, but were you ever banking on half this guy's face being burned off and him just killing a bunch of people?
No. No, that came out of nowhere.
It's like watching it and knowing Batman, you're like, okay, Harvey Dent, he infamously becomes Two-Face. So then the whole movie, you're like, are they going to do
When's
it?
it going to do it?
Are they going to do it? When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? You know, but not watching it, all of a sudden just his face burns off and you're like, oh, I bet he's going to be badly scarred. And it's just... Yeah.
And
it's
great. To the genius of like messing with Two-Face's origin. Because in the build up to this movie, like they really didn't confirm if he was going to be Two-Face. I remember one of the first big internet theories. God, my brain just went back. I'm 12 right now. But in one of the trailers, they do like quick images. Yeah. One was him holding the gun in Maroni's car. And people like freeze that. And they were like, he's got the gun. And if you look at his chin really close, it looks like the other half is like the internet was going like, he's going to be Two-Face in the movie. But the genius of like messing with his origin, the first scene when he's in the courtroom is very similar to his comic book origin, like the perfect setup to where the guy in the stand, instead of trying to shoot him, is when he hits him with the acid. So if you're a diehard comic fan watching, you're like, oh shit, they're going to do it right now. like
we're not even
right
getting
now.
any Harvey Dent.
And
what great casting too, like the side profile on that man and the face and the chin, like that's why they don't do him again. You can't cast someone like that.
No. And like something I want to get your guys' opinions on, upon rewatch for you and first time for you, what were kind of things throughout the movie, whether it be the amazing Heath Ledger performance or smaller quiet character moments, like now having seen the movie, like what is currently on your mind? Like what did the movie leave with you?
You want me to go?
She's been getting hard questions. You can go.
So you want me to have the hard question?
Yes.
I piggybacked off your hard question.
Thanks, Hannah.
You're welcome. We're a team here. I think I told you afterward, right after we watched it. I think I said a similar thing after watching Batman Begins, where I was like, oh, now I'm watching this with more filmmaking eye. Not that I'm a filmmaker, but living with you, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not just like, oh, the story. All that to say, the one thing I was proud of myself for noticing that I told you just a little bit ago was the editing. Beautiful. And I know, and I would love to get your opinions too, because I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. The editing in general and just the tightness of it and the choice of cutting to who and just like adding to like the stakes and the climax. I don't know. I felt like it was just perfectly, I don't know, go to a face reaction, back to the Joker, go to the knife, go to whatever it is. It felt so purposeful. We're saying it again, but it crafted where nothing was too long to make it boring. It was all, I don't know, it just all went together. But the thing I want also to hear about you guys that I'm sure you wanted to talk about is the three-way cuts and the stuff that we talked about, where that blew me away. I remember the scenes happening where it's the judge, the commissioner, and Harvey. Like, I remember that happening in the story because, of course, that's what happens. But I did not remember how clean and crisp and cool the cuts are, and that you're like, oh my god, no. And then back to this person, oh my god. And then like it.
And then Joker's at the party.
It like we've said, it go. But there were so many scenes I felt like where it was just between three different people and none of them were boring. It all felt crafted, and I loved it, and I want to talk about it. But what were your thoughts on it, or do you have any other follow-ups on
so much happens in this movie, and like the juggling of those storylines and still feeling completely invested in them, even though you're not necessarily allowed to like breathe in them for a minute. Like it's so fast-paced, but you feel so into it, and you get the resolve at the end of watching it. He does it like 3 times throughout the movie too. So he's really juggling like 6 different storylines this whole time. It's insane.
Yeah, or when
Gordon's so good in this one.
Yes,
too. I love Gordon.
God,
he levels up halfway through the movie. I love it.
Yeah, he goes from lieutenant to commissioner.
Yeah.
But when they have to try to kill Coleman Reese because he's going to reveal the identity of Batman, and it's cutting from in the car with the cop trying to kill him, and then you have the truck trying to kill him, and Bruce is in the Lamborghini, and he's like, "Oh shit, I see what's about to happen." Like just like stuff like that. The tension,
the payoff of Bruce Wayne, him seeing that Bruce Wayne saved him.
Yeah,
like the whole,
and he gives him like a little nod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the whole fan theory? This was later on about that character.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
The internet went down so many rabbit holes with these movies. So they
can we say the villain on 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Riddler.
Yes. So
because his name was it Cameron Coleman Reese, and this is the rabbit hole.
This really happened on the internet.
I do not believe this for a second, but then everyone was like, "Oh, if you referred to him formally, his name would be Mr. Reese." What's a mystery? A riddle. Yeah. He's the Riddler, and everyone was like, "What?"
But it became such a huge thing of he's the Riddler and this is his origin because now he didn't get to and blah blah blah.
They're setting him to be the big one in the 3rd movie because now he knows Batman's identity. It was
a huge thing.
So
I remember that, dude. Holy shit.
That's good.
Yeah, and
again, just the length and how much happens in this movie. I've watched this movie several times, and each time I just always forget that Scarecrow's the opening.
Yeah.
I wish more comic book movies started with them fighting a villain again, or even just a B, C-list villain. And two, I just totally forgot that he just fucks off to Hong Kong to just interrogate that guy. The movie paused to go to another country for one scene.
First time any Batman movie where he's out of Gotham.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
But imagine being the guy and you're very afraid of Batman, so you leave Gotham and then you're just chilling in your office and Batman in a different country entirely, and Batman just barrels through your window.
That scene was so good, though.
So funny.
Yeah.
Probably terrifying.
What a nightmare scenario for him. Yeah, and it is a great scene. And before the internet comes after me, it's the first time he operates as Batman in the costume outside of Gotham. Yes, he left Gotham and Batman Begins, yes. But it's a great scene, and it also sets up that tool that he uses, the timer with the bombs, and how all that works. And what I loved, because this is based on The Long Halloween, loosely, the comic story.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And in the sense of it's Batman, Harvey Dent, and Gordon, and they're like a team trying to take down the mob and take the scene where they're on the rooftop and they're all just arguing with each other about how are we gonna get him back, and Batman's like, I'll go get him, and that
scene's great because it's so long and Gordon and Harvey are the only two talking, and Batman is just
standing there.
It's just there like this.
Yes. And I also love how the Joker in this film, we've talked about how intelligent he is, but he was one step ahead always. And when he's in the meeting, the mob boss meeting where he does the pencil trick, which is amazing, and he's like, Batman doesn't have a jurisdiction. He's gonna find him, and it's gonna be over for you. And he was just kind of explaining everything. And I also, a little character bit that I loved is he gets really offended when people call him crazy, really mad. Which it's a rare thing that you see with him because he doesn't let emotions get to him. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple times in the movie where someone calls him crazy and he gets really upset. And he's upset because he's very theatrical, and then he just gets really serious. In the mom meeting, the guy says, "You're crazy," and he just goes, "No, I'm not." And it's that is spooky. I love it.
Something else that I wanted to talk about when you were something that you noticed in rewatch is just the amount of. The movie is not it is a Batman movie, but I really feel like it's a Batman and Joker movie, and the screen time is split in character development. I think you said that you're like, oh, there's not as much Bruce Wayne in this film. And it's true. It's sharing time, and the fact that there's so many scenes without Batman, just Joker, the mob scenes, and there's a handful of things where you just see him, and I feel like in narratives, of course, main characters are in all the scenes, and if there's ever the fact that Batman's not there means that Joker's more of a main character, and you get his perspective without Batman. I don't know, just the insight into him, and it felt like duality, really, versus a one-sided Batman story. And usually you don't get that. The villain is, I don't know, one-sided, and you only see the plan unfold versus how he got to the plan or other people he's talking to, or whatever it is. and then they're not ever in the same room together until like the end, but it's this like Joker's doing this with Batman, but Batman's doing this and trying to find out about Joker. And yes, they fight at the Harvey Dent thing, but they're not really like fighting until that like interrogation. Like when he's in there and he's, trying to get with Commissioner Gordon. And so, it converges. But I don't know, it's just interesting because normal like superhero things is I'm Shazam and I'm fighting so-and-so and I only see them when we fight and then we go away and we do something else and then I come back and fight them again. But it was just so, I don't know, it was so cool that he was more of a main character than other stories.
I mean, even in the previous film, like Ra's al Ghul's plan is just talked about through Scarecrow and the other villains, and you don't even realize it's his plan until the end.
Yes.
Like you have in the beginning, he fucks off, and then he's back because you were focusing on Batman that movie. And having that backstory allows them the time to like, all right, let's do Joker, let's build him up, let's like figure out what he's gonna be and how he's gonna affect the story. And you're right, they nailed it with building him up.
A couple things too, and to speak to that, like how they were fighting and everything. Yeah, the first time you think like, oh, they're about to like throw down is after the car chase scene, and that's when you get the Gordon reveal and you get the whole like, can I just have 1 minute with him?
Yeah.
Please. But and when you look at it, and not to say that other characters aren't complex, I feel like it's almost a pretentious kind of thing to say, but it's like, I feel like the Joker in terms of comic book villains is very multi-dimensional in that aspect versus something like, the Riddler is going to give you riddles. And I think, listen, the Matt Reeves movies did a good job with it, but like, the Joker's so, like, you almost need to give him that much screen time to just fully understand, and you don't even know where he's going half the time, which is almost what's so engaging about it, because you're like, oh, the villain's doing something, we see him doing this, Batman's going to show up, or whoever's going to show up, the hero, but, like, this time you're just following it, and you're like, what the hell is he going to do next? Because, like, if you think about the set pieces individually, it's like, we have the bank, the car chase, the hospital, the fucking boat, like it's just everything just keeps scaling up. And one thing I do love is that Nolan does take some influences. He really likes to take from all the old Batman movies, in very subtle ways, and just reframe them in a different context. Like the end of Batman '89, Michael Keaton is fighting Joker in a building, and he pushes him off the building. Mm-hmm. And now they just modernized that whole concept. Yeah. He takes something that I won't spoil.
Don't spoil it, yeah.
In The Dark Knight Rises, that is just
from the Adam
high-tech version of the Adam West Batman movie.
Yes.
And it's so funny.
Yeah. Out of context, it's so funny.
But with the Joker, what did you think of him? Do you have a favorite bit that he did, or thoughts on the performance overall?
Everything he did was just so good. And going back to like what Hannah was saying, I really did feel like a Batman Joker movie, or even like just a Joker movie. Like I was really invested in the character. But I feel like it shows how great the film was because there was so much going on, so many different story plots, but I was invested in every single one of them. And I felt like every character, when they did have something to say, it felt really important because they weren't on the screen as much. So I think they did a really good job of just like showcasing all of that. And then none of it got lost on me too, which I feel like really
good attention to detail.
Yeah.
For everything. And I like what you said, that like everything was important, and it's because like they could not be important, like they had to go, like the movie had to go. And the more you rewatch this movie, I highly recommend rewatching it all the time.
Yeah, no, I feel like I need to rewatch it like right now. I would rewatch it, but I'm like, there's so many little details like you guys are talking about, and then I need to rewatch it.
Gritty. Like, I mean, he has paint makeup on his hands.
Yeah.
It's just
his makeup was so good.
Yeah,
it was so realistic too. Like when he was in the interrogation room and it was all smeared.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they let him, like, he wanted to apply it, right? I think that. Yeah, I think the actor did it himself.
For particular scenes, they would let him do it. Yeah, and like it's also just like, it's so scary that you don't know where he comes from or what he is. He's just a force of nature. Like, he keeps lying about his backstory to people, which was super cool. Like, I remember watching it in the theaters for the first time, and he does the dad backstory, and I'm like, oh, that's tragic. And then he does the one with Rachel, and I'm like, oh, no way. Like, he's going to lie to
he's
everybody.
lying.
Yeah. And I love the setup because you don't realize it's set up. And that's my favorite type of setup. When Batman has the arms and they shoot across the room and Lucius Fox is like, perhaps you should read the instructions first. It's set up for later when he does it to Joker. And it's like, it's so good. Like, little stuff like that. And,
Well, like, even like with the interrogation, Batman crashes him up against the window and it breaks, and then that's what he's using to like.
That's what he needed to get the glass.
The glass to get the guard out. Yeah. Well, see, I don't think it was. I don't think he had planned Batman being there. I mean, maybe that. I guess that's open for interpretation. But he needed his phone call, and I think that was coincidence. Then antagonizing the guard to come in and fight him. And, yeah, it's just interesting to see that.
Yeah, and like, just how. Going back to what you said about the editing, just like how well put together the movie is, and how there's not an ounce of fat on this movie. Like, you could not cut anything at all, and it's just so well put together, like from every aspect in every way, and it's exciting, it's sad, it's riveting. Like, it's a 4-quadrant blockbuster movie while also being a very insane crime story. And a deeper detail that I really like, putting it in context of when it came out, was it came out right around the post 9/11 surveillance, Edward Snowden NSA stuff was going on. So when Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox, walks into that room and he's like, this is my resignation. If this device is going to spy on all these people, I will not work here anymore. And just the moral complexity of Batman being like, I know, but I have to find him. Like, there's no other way, I have to find him. And even destroying the machine at the end of the movie of like, we can't keep it, but like, we have to find this guy. And like the complexity of that happening in real life of like, if there's a terrorist at large, like, what's good to do? Like, can you spy on people? Yeah. Like, it's like that underlying aspect of it. It was just like really heavy when you kind of put that into context. And it's so good. We keep just saying that, but like, it's so true though,
But tell me something bad about it.
Yeah. No. There's some like funny stuff in there, like, just because I've seen this movie probably 100 times. So like, there's some funny stuff. Like, the extras. Nolan is notorious for having like extras who aren't great. So you have people who are like, no more dead cops, and like, things are worse than ever here. Like, just like, and like the music and stuff, like, you don't leave the moment fully, but you're just kind of like, like,
It just feels like that's not what's important.
Exactly.
So it's just like,
Focus
what should
on
I
what's
say?
important.
I don't know this.
Yeah,
and then you just go on to the next.
Oh my God, that reminds me. There's actually a great behind the scenes story about Michael Gambon, who played Gamble, the person who the Joker cuts up in the movie. He gave a great behind the scenes interview talking about working with Christopher Nolan.
In the mob room?
Yeah.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah. He talks about working with Christopher Nolan, and he's like, as an actor, you have questions about your character, and you want to know all these things, and you think Christopher Nolan, like one of the best directors working, like he's going to have all the answers for you. No. He's like, I went up to him, and I was like, hey, everybody in here has an Italian accent, or some sort of accent. Like, should I have one? And Christopher Nolan was like, do you want one? And he's like, well, no, I actually think I should speak with my own accent to kind of show that we've been rounded up from all over the place, and maybe I'm not from here. And he goes, ooh, that's good. Yeah, just talk how you want. And it's just like, you wouldn't think that, like, for how like attention to detail he is, like, you wouldn't think that that's like a thing. But Nolan really, he's like, it's not important. Like, it's fine. Go ahead. And it allows actors that freedom, but it also is just kind of like the attention to detail, focusing on what's important and doing that as well. And like, I also don't think a second unit was used on this movie, and I could be wrong about that, but I will say all of the inserts looked gorgeous. So it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't a second unit. Yeah. But I think one of the disappointing things about the third one, which I don't think is a bad film, it's just not as good as these two, I think, is the attention to detail is not there. And there are some messy plot stuff, which from Nolan, from the master, is like, come on, dude. Like, we've seen what you can do, Mm-hmm. And it's a bit unfairly judged in that way, but I do feel it.
Do you think that he just kind of wanted to go on to the next thing, and it was sort of a contractual obligation?
Well, I know he wasn't going to direct it. Like, he was just going to produce it. And then as they were developing it, he was like, all right, I'll do it. I think they might have, I don't know this, don't quote me, but they might have, like, if you do this, like, Interstellar, whatever budget you want.
Yeah.
Like, it might have been something like that. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
he made it, I could imagine a movie like Dark Knight just taking it out of you for a minute.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I feel like it makes.
Yeah, and like,
But
he did Inception 2 years after this.
Yeah, he took a break between each Batman.
Yeah, and made a new movie.
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is a brilliant plan because
Palette cleanser,
it creatively refreshes you. Yeah,
Yeah.
more people should do that.
There's some good in Dark Knight Rises, though.
Oh no,
But, like
I think it's a good movie.
It's such a, on a whole, just such an uneven trilogy, just because of the level of this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's
like the next one. I still think the next one's a good movie. Don't get me wrong.
No, yeah, it's
especially emotionally how it wraps everything up. Oh my God, it's lovely. But the suspension of disbelief, I think, is a bit more in that movie. And I think it's because of how grounded these other two movies are.
It's been a minute, but I feel like that's the one where I feel like Warner Brothers kind of
probably
got a little more in on over their head on it.
He did win some battles though.
Yeah.
Because I know originally, because he just did Inception right after Dark Knight, and Warner Brothers was like, "Hey, we're gonna offer to Leonardo DiCaprio to be the Riddler," and Chris Nolan was like, "I don't want the Riddler in the movie. It's not who I want." And it was just like a whole thing, you know.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan.
He's like, he doesn't. One of the few people who doesn't like Leonardo DiCaprio. Everyone, this guy
I love the Riddler. That would have been my own personal hell.
Leo would have absolutely said no. By the way, there's no way he would have done it.
100.
I didn't even see that.
Well, and around all those time that the like those rumors were happening, that's when they finally said like, "Oh, hey, like Tom Hardy's going to be the villain in the movie."
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hardy's the guy that plays Venom. For reference, he's the villain in the next one. And everyone was like, "Oh, look at this scrawny British guy! Like, that's the Riddler if I've ever seen." And everyone was just like, "Yo, Tom Hardy's going to be the Riddler?
Yeah,
what's happening? How does that like? What is this beefy Zack Snyder Riddler? What's happening?" And then he was Bane.
And then when they were Bane, they were like, "He's not big enough to be Bane." And then they released that first image, and
everyone was like, "Oh boy,
yeah."
Seen Bane?
No.
Oh, we'll show you an image. Yeah.
Get the live.
Yeah, but while you're doing that, Hannah.
Yes.
With this film and like the different times you've watched it, like we watched it during COVID, we watched it now.
Yeah.
Where does it rank in your Nolan filmography for you?
It's still at the top.
It's it's coin flip between. Oh, you see him? Yeah.
No way.
So that's
Share with the class.
Share with the class. Hannah wants to see.
Cillian Murphy on there? No kidding. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are making me now want to do a Nolan
Please. I'd love
whole
to.
movie
fun.
marathon. Yeah.
We did it during COVID and from the beginning, and just to see like his progression from Memento on was
and
very
just
cool.
just the stuff in his filmmaking, like Hannah was mentioning, like the 3 storyline editing. He does it in practically every movie. Like there's few movies he doesn't do that. And like Inception, I think is the best use of it. Like the 3 dream layers, like the suspense that's built in that. Because like if one of them fails, the whole mission fails, and it's going back and forth.
Only seen Inception twice.
You bitch.
Wow.
Well, so technically, actually, only once. I went to watch it on a cruise, and then I got really dizzy trying to follow the plot, and then I was on a cruise, so I got sick, so I left. And then the other time was just with Dalton, and I think I just got angry trying to understand it. So I've only seen Tenet once as well.
By the way, they're playing Tenet at the Regal Point tomorrow if you want to go.
They just...
Is that Nolan?
Have you not seen? Oh yeah, never mind. You said you haven't seen any other Nolans. Never mind.
No, I actually have. I've seen Memento, Inception. Now the first Batman he did. Now the second one.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Wait, that's like 5 or 6.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of
Oh,
them.
never
Wait,
mind.
have you seen The Prestige?
No.
Nicholas. That's your mission, dude.
That's my favorite.
It's
Oh, you were saying that.
The Prestige is
It's magicians fighting.
and it's awesome. And when it came out, it wasn't critically panned or anything, but when it came out, it was just like all step down for Nolan. Like that was like the vibe. And
It's
then
so fun.
it's now become like that's one of his best films. It's so good.
Okay, we just keep this segment going, but just
Christopher
Nolan.
Revisited is just Nolan.
Yes. So Prestige is Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, Batman in this movie.
The Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman.
Oh my god, I need to see that.
But they're rival magicians.
Oh, and Black Widow.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson. Yeah,
How have I never even heard? I've never even heard of
Do you
this.
know
movie.
David Bowie?
he's in it too.
Musician.
He plays Nikolai Tesla.
No.
You know David. Yeah, I'll show you a photo.
Yeah,
You know David.
yeah, yeah. David Bowie's in it.
Late.
Oh, Andy Serkis is in it.
I'm bad with names.
My God, Andy Serkis is.
Yep.
Prestige is my favorite Nolan movie, guys. Forget The Dark Knight.
Okay, that's the next one.
Yeah.
But we all agree that Dunkirk sucks.
No, we
Yes,
don't. No,
yes,
no,
we
no.
do.
Listen.
Yes,
Stop.
we do.
Stop this bullshit right now.
Correct.
The only good
No.
part is Cillian Murphy. I'm
No.
sorry. And Harry Styles.
No, and first of all, that's where I got introduced to Barry Keoghan, or Keoghan, however you say his fucking name.
Milkface.
He's great. Wow. But he's great in that movie. Here's the thing. Yeah, have the laugh.
That took me a second. I'm sorry.
Dunkirk
I can't.
is amazing.
I still can't process who Barry Keoghan is in the Batman universe currently.
Oh, I can.
My brain can't reconcile that.
I was a fan day one of that. You're not gonna get my Dunkirk praise out of this. Dunkirk is great. It's a great movie.
The main guy in Saltburn.
Yes.
That's the new Joker.
I could see it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me do my Dunkirk thing. Dunkirk is
Trying to
great.
avoid it.
It's Morgan. It's only 90 minutes.
It's Christopher Nolan?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's about the Dunkirk invasion in World War II and how they got out. It's only about the event. Like, it starts and ends with the event, and it's told from three perspectives: one from the planes, one from the island. Yep. One from the planes, one from the island, and one from the sailboats.
That sounds great.
Then the plane only takes place over the course of a couple hours. The land takes place, I think, a day, 2 days, and then the boats is like a couple weeks because they're trying to get there. And as each storyline happens, they all converge with each other for like the brief period of time that they all happen at the same time. So you'll see something happen in the air during the land when it's showing them on land, and then later in the movie it will happen from the air because you're catching up to that moment. It's awesome. I love it.
Tom Hardy in a plane.
Yes.
It's too loud.
It's not too loud. The sound is great. I think it might have won the Oscar for sound. I'm not going to look it up right now because I'm tired. But it's
Nolan
great.
can't mix.
I'll give you that. Tenet is one of the worst sound mix movies I've ever heard. I love that film.
It's so bad.
It's horrible.
It's so bad.
Tenet is a movie where if we watch it, I will put subtitles on.
I love subtitles.
Subtitles.
I do too, but like I like it just because I like to read it. I feel like I resonate with the jokes more on sitcoms. But like,
I'm in the minority. No, I know. A
you
lot of
can't
people like
follow
subtitles.
Tenet. And I'll tell you what, reading it doesn't help.
I like Tenet a lot.
No,
like Tenet a lot.
I enjoyed Tenet very much. It's just so confusing.
Okay. This is the
But
Dark
even-
Knight
even-
episode. We need to get
that-
back on track.
That's fair.
Sorry.
Sorry, everyone. We like movies. I don't know if you could tell.
We spiraled pretty quickly. It's
Yes.
very
You
late.
can
Yes.
cut this. Put it.
Put it, yeah. Why don't you cut it and put it in different parts of the episode?
Because don't even get me started on Interstellar. We'll talk about that next time.
Let's talk about Dunkirk.
I'm not cutting shit. It's staying right where it is.
We also were like, it's late. We won't record a long one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's The Dark Knight. You're going to fucking talk about The Dark Knight.
Yeah, we gave Batman Begins like 45 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Well, that one had a lot of back and forth on like
Yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
though. Dark Knight, I feel like, was universally agreed here to be
Yeah.
good, and there wasn't really much to complain about,
So I'll touch on a couple things.
except on its length, as Morgan said, too short.
Yeah.
Give us more.
I think the sound design in this movie is also better than Batman Begins. I love that the punches feel like death blows. Like every single punch is like ridiculously hard, like in the sound design. But I also want to talk about the impact of the movie and the post-release and everything. It came out the same year as Iron Man, and it was a huge turning point for both Marvel and DC. And not only that, this was the first superhero movie to make $1 billion. It got nominated for a ton of Academy Awards, and with Heath Ledger winning, it was the first comic book movie to win like a major Oscar, like one of the big ones.
What was this budget for 2008?
185.
Wild.
Yeah. And not only that, it also led to the Academy. People consider, like, it's debated. People consider this movie not being nominated for Best Picture was the reason why the Academy made it so 10 movies can be nominated.
Do you agree with that?
that 10 movies should be nominated.
No, do you agree that was why they changed it because of the movie?
I think it's a reason.
I think it's a reason.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the reason. I think it's a reason. And part of it was, too, because Nolan also didn't get Best Director. Nolan was not nominated for Best Director until Dunkirk.
Wow.
Yes. So
Deserves this win.
for Oppenheimer?
For
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
It was a pity nomination for Dunkirk. They were
No, it
like,
wasn't.
oh, he tried.
Morgan, you're going to love Dunkirk. I'm key on this.
I
think
feel
it's
like
funnier to just go far on the opposite end on it.
Yeah. But, you know who needs to be here for the Dunkirk one? Fucking Kyler. He hates that.
We're just
He
gonna
hates
we're
that
just gonna
movie.
lock you two in a room for that one. I don't want to be a
Oh.
part of that episode.
No, don't leave us in there too long. We'll kiss. But basically, Morgan's like, yes.
kiss.
Nothing's getting cut, guys.
Yeah. But the impact this movie had, like, a lot of different stuff. Nolan's career was never this, like, the 1-2 punch of Dark Knight Inception. Oh my God, your career is safe forever after that. Like, easy. And the fact that he still makes great movies, like, it's unbelievable. Now he can do whatever he wants. He can do 3-hour dramas. He can do, he's like, I'm Christopher Nolan. Fucking give me money.
What do you think he does next?
He won't. I want him to do a straight up horror movie so bad.
I want musical.
Oh, a Christopher Nolan musical.
Oh, it'd be
you,
awful.
You won't be able to hear them.
It would be so bad.
Nolan and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
No.
No.
The duo we never knew we needed.
No.
Okay, either straight up horror or straight up like Judd Apatow comedy. Because Christopher Nolan, if you know anything about him, he loves comedy, but he won't make one.
He likes the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yep.
I say we just give him a spin-off.
Hell yeah. He loves Ricky Bobby. He loves MacGruber. Did you know he wrote a letter to the director of MacGruber being like, this movie's great. Like, don't let anyone tell you different. Like, that's so funny to me.
Listen, when you are writing movies like this and just the complexity of the themes and everything, I get wanting to just watch a stupid comedy.
Yeah. But like Paul Thomas Anderson,
Yeah.
too, is the same way. Like, he loves
Yeah.
movies like that.
I think I would like to see a pirate movie.
Nolan Pirates? I think he'd do well.
Yeah, maybe not for the sword fighting, but
As long as there's a sci-fi twist, I'm in.
pirate aliens.
No.
Put the pirates in space.
Yes, and you know what it is? He does the live-action Treasure Planet.
He would never.
He would never do it, but
Never.
it would be great.
Pretty
Just
good.
saying. He needs to do James Bond. So bad. He's so British. And like James Bond, shootouts and chases is what he is key in, especially in Dark Knight. And like James Bond, come on. I'd like you to use a second unit for the hand-to-hand, but chases and everything.
Then we get Cillian Murphy Bond villain.
And then you can get Tom Hardy Bond. You can get. There's so many.
Cillian Murphy Bond.
Nah, he's too old.
Cillian Murphy Bond woman.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just gonna name
Or
it. Cillian Murphy Q.
Trigger words. Like what?
you know who
Added to
you know who'd be
Kristen Stewart Bond.
Yes.
no you know who'd be a great Bond is Tom Hiddleston. Just saying. But yeah. But final thoughts on
Disagree.
he would. Final
Michael
thoughts.
Cera.
Michael Cera is the choice. We nailed it. We nailed it.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes. Oh my god. Sorry guys, off the rails. We'll go around the table. Final thoughts on Dark Knight. Go.
I think it's the clear standout as the best of the Nolan trilogies. I think it is definitely the best Batman movie. I say that loving Batman Forever, but
Yeah.
on the reels, I think that Heath Ledger gives such a great, unique performance as the Joker, that all future iterations of it, I think, are just using it as a base. But to me, I don't think anyone, as good as a performance as like Joaquin Phoenix gave, Jared Leto did something. But, I don't think anyone's been able to capture that same energy and the performance and the quality of what he does there.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I still don't like Bale as Batman.
Fair.
That's always been my kind of gripe with these movies, just as a whole there. And that's not even like, I didn't like him when I saw him, and that was before I even, I'm a Batfleck guy, but I don't know. I think it's honestly, it's just the lip pursing and the voice. Like, I just can't, it takes me out every time. But no, it's great, and just great supporting cast too. You know, Batman and the boys, they're all great.
Morgan?
I loved it. I cannot believe I've never seen it before. I feel like I can now say I am a Batman fan.
Good.
What is that face?
That's the face he makes when they're doing.
Oh, no, I thought it was great. It started and it went and it did not stop until the end. And I could have watched another 2 hours. I really did not feel the runtime at all, which I really liked. I liked there were so many like little like twists and stuff, like Rachel dying. I still didn't believe it. Like that doesn't really happen, I feel like, in superhero movies, like the surprise like that. And then there being like kind of like a second villain, the Two-Face guy, and then him dying too. All of it was just so good. And yeah, I am very, very glad you made me watch it. Finally.
Yes.
Same as you guys. It's incredible. It was amazing for the time, and it's now a classic, like we've said. The filmmaking, the editing, the story, like also crisp and purposeful, like we were saying. Just, I don't know, incredible work across the board. And then, I don't know, another thing, I just appreciate how creative it all is, and that, like, what happens, and like you never knew what was going to happen next, and like that's refreshing, especially for like how we said it just goes and goes, it doesn't stop, like you're never bored. So I feel like the choices were very cool, like the phone in his stomach, or the oil and the switching of the, like you never knew what was going to happen, and mostly that was like the Joker, but just very engaging, very cool, and just keeps you thinking afterward. And you know, you said you watch it a million times and you catch other things, so it never gets old. So overall, great stuff.
Yes. I'll just say, on top of this being one of the best movie-going theatrical experiences of my life, it was amazing. You look back on movies in history, like you look back on the original Star Wars, Jaws, E.T., you know, you look on like these major milestones and be like, oh, that was a game changer. And I think it's already started where people look back on this movie and say, oh, this was a game changer for comic book movies and for blockbusters and what you can do. And, you know, the fact that people started taking comic books movies a little bit more seriously. They already took them serious after X-Men, you know, but after this, you know, now they're winning Oscars. Now you have a Black Panther that can get a Best Picture nomination. You have a Logan getting a Best Screenplay nomination. You know, you have that consideration of like Dark Knight and Iron Man coming out in the same year was huge, like for that level, that side of Hollywood. It also kind of just goes to show, you know, Chris Nolan, before Batman Begins, he was an indie guy. And you saw this wave of independent filmmakers getting hired to do big blockbuster movies of just like, what stories do they have to tell? You know, what's the situation there? And the way that it shaped Nolan as a filmmaker, the way it shaped just pop culture in general, and just the stranglehold that this movie had on people is crazy. And the fact that when a great sequel comes out, I just did it with Dune Part 2. When a great sequel comes out, marketing 101, if you think it's good, you say it's just like for second movies, it's just like The Dark Knight. You always say that. Empire Strikes Back and Dark Knight. It's like what every critic and every person has to say to like get people to understand like it's really good. Like this is the comparison. Like this is the standard.
Yeah.
And that is so cool.
Shrek 2.
Honestly, yes. It's so cool, and it's one of those things where I feel very lucky as like someone who loves movies. I feel very lucky that I was like alive and around like for this. Like I was very pleased, and I'm happy it still holds up too. And I'm very happy with how good the 4K disc is, guys. This 4K disc on The Dark Knight is so good. I recommend getting it. And yeah, well, that'll do it for The Dark Knight, guys. Don't miss out on the finale, The Dark Knight Rises, where I will definitely cry while watching the movie, maybe while talking about it. It's very sad at the end, Morgan. Prepare yourself. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on The Dark Knight Rises.